Welcome back everybody, I'm Jaran Gabber, your host. This is the Jaran Gabber channel, and today we're going to react to a video called Who is the strongest Tekken character of all time? Now for new updates and content, you can visit the links in the description down below, and let's get started. Enjoy.
Devil powers, ancient monsters, martial artists capable of leveling armies. The Tekken universe is packed with fighters flexing and trying to prove who is the strongest. However, only one of them can really claim the top spot. So let's figure out who that is. But before we start, I know that more than 90% of you watching are not subscribed to the channel. If you like this kind of content, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out and it lets the algorithm know that more people should be watching dope Tekken content. Anyway. Number 10. Jinpachi Mishima. Jinpachi is the man who started it all, sort of. Long before the family wars and devil transformations, Jinpachi founded the Mishima Zaibatsu, building the massive industrial empire during World War II. He eventually came to regret how the company had turned toward military power and conflict, though. Rather than pursuing domination, he hoped to guide the Mishima legacy back toward martial arts and honorable combat. His own son Heihachi, perhaps jealous of how tall Dad's hair was, staged a coup, stole the Mishima Zaibatsu, and imprisoned Jinpachi beneath the family temple at Honmaru. There, the once great martial artist eventually died of starvation. Until something far worse happened. And for those of you leaving comments in the Devil Gene video talking about Jinpachi, unrelated. Totally unrelated. Anyway. A mysterious demonic spirit resurrected Jinpachi's corpse and used it as a vessel. By the time he appears as the final boss of Tekken 5, Jinpachi's body has mutated into a monstrous form, complete with glowing eyes, a demonic aura, and a freaky second mouth opening in his abdomen. Jinpachi gains the ability to levitate, fire massive energy blasts, and unleash devastating shockwaves, making him one of the most overwhelming boss characters the series has ever produced. His attacks cover huge distances and deal enormous damage, allowing him to pressure opponents from nearly anywhere in the arena. I'm in my 30s, and growing up, Jinpachi Mishima was the reason I was a stressed child. Deep inside, the real Jinpachi remains aware of the destruction the spirit is causing through his body. That's why he secretly organizes the 5th King of Iron Fist tournament, hoping that someone strong enough will appear to defeat him, and finally free him from the demon's control. That great warrior ultimately turns out to be his extremely emo great-grandson, Jin Kazuma, who defeats Jinpachi at the end of the tournament and finally allows the old master to rest in peace. Even though he ranks 10th on this list, his combination of legendary martial arts mastery and supernatural power still make him one of the most formidable fighters Tekken has ever seen, and considering he once held the title of Ultimate Fighter, that reputation was not earned lightly. 9. Lars Alexandersson. At first glance, Lars Alexandersson might seem like an unusual entry on a list of Tekken's strongest fighters. Unlike many of the characters above him, Lars does not possess the Devil Gene, ancient demonic powers, or supernatural mutations, unless you count whatever he does with his hair. What he does have, however, is something arguably just as dangerous: Mishima blood. Lars, being the illegitimate son of Heihachi Mishima, who clearly gets around a little too much, makes him part of the same brutal lineage that produced fighters like Kazuya Mishima and Jin Kazuma. Even without the Devil Gene, that heritage places Lars among the most physically gifted humans in the entire Tekken universe. Originally rising through the ranks of the Tekken Force, the elite military arm of the Mishima Zaibatsu, because, what corporation doesn't need a private army? Watch our video about G Corporation and the Mishima Zaibatsu if you want more on that. Lars became a high-ranking officer at an unusually young age thanks to his exceptional combat ability and tactical mind. Unlike many commanders, however, Lars preferred to fight on the front lines alongside his soldiers, earning enormous loyalty from his troops. When Jin Kazuma used the Mishima Zaibatsu to spark a global war during the events of Tekken 6, Lars ultimately rebelled and formed his own private army, Yggdrasil. But what truly places Lars on this list is who he's capable of standing against. Over the course of the series, Lars has fought and survived encounters with some of the most powerful beings in Tekken lore. He battled Heihachi Mishima directly and lived to tell the tale. Anyone who can take a hit from Heihachi's dome has to be tough. Not to mention, he directly confronted Azazel, an ancient being tied to the origin of the devil gene. And for those of you who think the name is pronounced Azazel, you're wrong and should feel bad. Anyway, during the events of Tekken 8, Lars even manages to hold off true Devil Kazuya long enough for Jin to rejoin the fight. That last feat is particularly impressive. His fighting style reflects that intensity. Lars uses the fast, aggressive Tekken Force martial arts that combines explosive strikes, acrobatics, and, for some reason, lightning-charged attacks that mirror the Mishima family's signature ki energy. In short, Lars is the closest thing Tekken has to a pure human powerhouse. He may not possess devil transformations or divine power, but his combination of Mishima genetics, battlefield experience, and relentless determination allows him to stand shoulder to shoulder with actual monsters. And if there's one thing Tekken history has proven, you can never underestimate a Mishima, especially the rebellious ones, which I think is all of them? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's all of them. Anyway, number 8, True Ogre. Before the devil gene dominated Tekken's power hierarchy, there was another terrifying force that many fighters believed to be the ultimate martial arts deity, True Ogre. Ogre first appeared during the events of Tekken 3, where it was discovered deep within an ancient temple in Mexico. Known as the God of Fighting, this mysterious being had spent centuries hunting down the world's greatest warriors and absorbing their strengths. Fighters like Baek San, Wang Jinrei, and Jun Kazuma were all defeated by Ogre long before the King of Iron Fist tournament even began. Yet the creature seen early in the game was only its first form. When Ancient Ogre is critically injured during the tournament, it sheds its humanoid shell and reveals its true body. True Ogre. A monstrous hybrid creature combining the traits of numerous animals and ancient mythological beasts, with massive wings, that super annoying snake arm, a hulking muscular torso, and the ability to wield devastating supernatural energy. True Ogre is one of the most physically intimidating bosses in the entire Tekken franchise. Instead of relying on a single fighting style, Ogre can absorb the abilities of the warriors it defeats, effectively turning itself into a living archive of martial arts techniques. This allows it to replicate moves from many fighters in the series while adding its own devastating supernatural attacks. Despite this overwhelming power, True Ogre is ultimately defeated by Jin Kazuma during the climax of the tournament. And here's where things get even more interesting. In Tekken 8, a new fighter named Miyari Zo was introduced, a young martial artist from Madagascar who draws power from a mythical protector known as the Silver Fighting God. According to legend, this deity granted Miyari Zo supernatural powers tied to nature and animal movements. Coincidence? Well, if you've watched our Tekken Monsters video, you know it's obviously not. The Silver Fighting God has a striking resemblance to True Ogre because it is another Toshin, this time inspired by Madagascar instead of Mesoamerican iconography. In Miyari Zo's gameplay trailer, the spirit appears with a lion-like face, massive mane, muscular humanoid body, all features that closely mirror Ogre's alternate design seen in the Player 2 outfits of Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag Tournament. While the developers have clarified that the Silver Fighting God is not the same entity as Ogre, the visual similarities strongly suggest that the mythologies behind these ancient fighting gods have to be connected. In other words, Ogre may not be the only divine warrior lurking in Tekken's ancient past. Maybe there's a Toshin for every major continent, in which case North America's Toshin would just be a Gatling gun. Still, even with that mystery in mind, True Ogre remains one of the most foreboding beings ever faced in the King of Iron Fist tournament, a creature that haunts the strongest fighters on Earth and grows stronger with every battle, so it is naturally terrifying. But still. Number 7. Heihachi Mishima. Unlike many of the fighters above him on this list, Heihachi has no supernatural powers, no devil gene, no divine abilities, no demonic transformations, and yet somehow, through brutal training, iron willpower, a frightening level of endurance, and perhaps the most powerful hair in gaming history, he has managed to stand toe-to-toe with some of the most powerful beings in the entire Tekken universe, which is exactly why he earns a place on this ranking. While Jinpachi wanted to move the Mishima Zaibatsu toward peaceful pursuits, Heihachi had other plans for the company. In his early 30s, he staged a violent coup, seized control of the corporation, and turned the Zaibatsu into a global military powerhouse. Then, after discovering that his wife Kazumi possessed the devil gene, and had secretly been sent to assassinate him, Heihachi killed her in a brutal fight. Soon after, he tested his young son Kazuya by throwing him off a cliff, an act that would awaken the devil gene inside the boy and ignite the infamous Mishima family feud. Despite creating some of the most dangerous enemies in the Tekken universe, Heihachi himself remained terrifyingly powerful. Throughout the series, he repeatedly battles figures who possess supernatural abilities, and manages to hold his own. He defeats Devil Kazuya, survives explosions that would kill normal humans instantly, and continues fighting well into old age with strength that rivals fighters half his age. At one point, he even fights off an entire army of Jack robots alone, and survives their self-destruction. But perhaps the most impressive thing about Heihachi is his sheer resilience. Time and time again, he is seemingly killed, thrown off cliffs, caught in, massive explosions, and even dropped into molten lava. Yet somehow, the old dude keeps bouncing back. And even after his apparent death at the hands of Kazuya in Tekken 7, Heihachi's story refuses to end. In Tekken 8's expanded storyline, he survives yet again and undergoes intense training with a group of warrior monks. There, he masters an ultimate Mishima technique so powerful he can literally destroy a falling meteor with a single headbutt. I told you that dome was strong. And even after gaining this new power, Heihachi proves he hasn't changed at all. Once his memories return, he immediately defeats several elite fighters, including Lydia Sobieska, Eddie Gordo, and Yoshimitsu, before declaring that he will once again challenge Kazuya. He may not be the strongest being in the Tekken universe, but he is the most relentless, you could say the most hard-headed. And in a world full of devils, demons, and supernatural warriors, the fact that an ordinary human can still compete at the very top is nothing short of incredible. Number 6. Azazel. Long before the events of Tekken's modern storyline, Azazel ruled over both heaven and earth as a terrifying supernatural entity known as the Rectifier. Thousands of years ago, this demonic being bestowed fragments of its power upon certain humans, granting them the ability to transform their darkest desires into supernatural strength and really annoying laser beams. Those chosen individuals became the first devils, forming the foundation of the devil gene that would later plague the Mishima bloodline. Characters like Kazuya Mishima, Jin Kazuma, and even Reina can ultimately be traced back to Azazel. Eventually, humanity rebelled against the creature and succeeded in overthrowing it. The ancestors of Zafina's clan sealed Azazel's spirit deep within a temple built in its name. However, a prophecy warned that one day the demon would awaken again when two dark stars clashed in battle. Those two dark stars turned out to be Jin and Kazuya. When the two Devil Gene users began their global conflict in Tekken 6, the massive surge of hatred, fear, hair gel, and violence across the world weakened the ancient seal. Azazel began communicating telepathically with Jin, manipulating events so that enough negative energy would build up to restore its physical form. Ironically, Jin allowed this to happen on purpose. Believing Azazel to be the true source of the Devil Gene, Jin launched a war to awaken the demon with the intention of destroying it permanently. His plan worked, but not without consequences. Azazel emerged as a towering, godlike monster capable of summoning crystal spikes, firing devastating energy beams, and regenerating its body during battle. Even powerful fighters struggled against it. Eventually, Jin confronted Azazel directly and defeated the creature by using his own devil powers against him, plunging both of them into the abyss beneath the temple. The world assumed Azazel had been destroyed, but of course, that wasn't entirely true. Years later, Zafina sealed the lingering essence of Azazel inside her own body to prevent it from returning, but the demon's power continued to grow within the seal until Tekken 8, when Kazuya deliberately freed Azazel from Zafina in order to steal its power for himself. Kazuya defeated the ancient demon and absorbed its power, transforming into true Devil Kazuya. Azazel was reduced to a weakened spirit trapped within Kazuya's body, like being stuck inside a really bad Uber. Ultimately, Azazel's fate became tied to the same conflict that awakened it in the first place. When Angel Jin and True Devil Kazuya finally clashed in Tekken 8's final battle, the Devil Gene itself was purified, destroying the demonic influence that Azazel had seeded into humanity thousands of years prior. With the Devil Gene, quote-unquote, gone, Azazel's existence effectively came to an end. Its legacy remains one of the most important pieces of Tekken lore, because without Azazel, the entire Mishima saga, including the rivalries, betrayals, and the devastating wars, probably would never have happened in the first place. Number 5. Jin Kazuma. Few characters in the Tekken series carry as much weight or as much tragedy as Jin Kazuma, which explains those massive shoulders. Jin was designed from the start to be caught between two completely different legacies. From his mother, he inherited the peaceful Kazuma fighting style, a martial art built around protection and balance. From his father, he inherited something far darker, the cursed Devil Gene. Jin's life began to unravel when he was 15, as so many of ours do, after the ancient monster ogre attacked Yakushima and his mother disappeared. Jin followed her final advice and sought out his grandfather, Heihachi Mishima, which was really bad advice. Heihachi took Jin in and trained him in the brutal Mishima-style fighting karate, shaping him into a powerful fighter for the King of Iron Fist Tournament 3. Jin won the tournament and defeated the true ogre, but the victory came with an obviously devastating betrayal. Immediately afterward, Heihachi ordered his soldiers to execute him. Jin somehow survived the gunfire, I guess by flexing really hard, after which Heihachi personally shot his grandson in the head. That moment awakened the devil gene inside him, and Jin transformed into Devil Jin. He destroyed the soldiers surrounding him and escaped. From then on, Jin saw his own bloodline as a curse. He spent years trying to distance himself from the Mishima legacy, even abandoning the Mishima fighting style to relearn traditional karate. Eventually, Jin decided that the only way to end the curse was to destroy it completely, even if it meant sacrificing himself. After defeating great-grandpa Jinpachi Mishima in Tekken 5, Jin took control of the Mishima Zaibatsu and started a global war. Jin intentionally plunged the world into chaos because he believed it would awaken Azazel, the ancient entity connected to the Devil Gene. His plan was very simple and also very stupid. Summon Azazel, destroy it, and eliminate the Devil Gene forever. Millions suffered because of that decision, and Jin became one of the most controversial figures in the entire Tekken story, which is kinda hard to do when you share limelight with Kazuya Mishima and his dad Heihachi. But by the time Tekken 8 begins, Jin is no longer the same man. Haunted by guilt over the destruction he caused, Jin joins forces with Lars Alexanderson and Yggdrasil to stop his father, who has now taken control of the world through G Corporation. Jin believes defeating Kazuya is the only way to finally end the Devil Gene and atone for his past. However, his journey in Tekken 8 forces him to confront something even more difficult: himself. But we'll get to that in a sec. Number 4. Reina. Introduced in Tekken 8, Reina initially appears to be nothing more than a talented student from Mishima Polytechnical School. She enters the King of Iron Fist tournament with lightning-fast martial arts skills and strangely deep knowledge of the Mishima family's secrets. But as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that Reina is far more than she appears. It's revealed that she is somehow Heihachi Mishima's daughter, which means that she's also Jin's aunt, which is weird. Anyway, due to this, Reina inherits many of the same traits that made her father infamous, apart from, the whole bald, super forehead thing. Instead, she got the overwhelming confidence, the ruthless ambition, and the mastery of Mishima-style fighting karate. Her fighting style blends this brutal Mishima martial art with Taido, a modern Japanese combat style known for its acrobatic movement and rapid directional attacks. The combination makes Reina incredibly aggressive in battle, constantly closing distance with serious speed while launching powerful electric strikes, similar to the Mishima family's signature Wind God techniques. Yet Reina's true strength isn't because of her skill, but her strategic mind. Throughout Tekken 8's story, Reina operates several steps ahead of almost everyone around her. She secretly feeds intelligence to Lydia Sobieska about G Corporation's movements, manipulates events so that the mysterious Tekken monks reveal themselves, and deliberately places herself near Jin Kazuma to study how the Devil Gene activates in battle. In fact, when she finally fights Jin during the tournament, Reina intentionally pushes him toward a life-threatening situation just to observe the moment his devil powers awaken. So, not a cool aunt who buys you beer, then. Once she confirms her theory, she immediately forfeits the match because she's learned what she needed. This calculated behavior becomes even more important later on in the story. During the war against Kazuya Mishima, Reina proves herself very capable of surviving attacks that would instantly kill most humans. She even directly confronts True Devil Kazuya. However, the most shocking moment comes during the battle on Yakushima. As Kazuya rains down devastating laser blasts across the battlefield, Reina deliberately steps directly into the path of one of them, spreading her arms and allowing the attack to strike her head-on, intentionally putting herself on the brink of death. After the blast, Reina rises from the rubble with the glowing red eyes, revealing that she also carries the Devil Gene somehow. Seriously, this is not explained or explored. We know that the Devil Gene comes from Azazel, and not the Hachijo bloodline specifically, so it's not that she needs Kazumi to be her mother, and we know near-death experiences can awaken the Devil Gene, but how would she know that she had it, especially considering Heihachi has been in the same situations and has not awakened it, meaning either he doesn't have it, or he keeps it repressed because he's just that angry. If you want more discussion about the Devil Gene itself, go watch our video on that, but for now, let's just focus on Reina. Unlike Jin, who struggles with the curse, or Kazuya, who is shaped by a lifetime of hatred, Reina approaches her power with cold calculation. She idolizes her father, Heihachi, and openly declares her intention to continue his legacy, even claiming that she will one day rebuild the world in her own image. That ambition, combined with Mishima fighting style, the devil gene, and her brilliant strategic thinking, makes Reina one of the most dangerous rising forces in the Tekken universe. And if her story continues the way it started in Tekken 8, she may eventually become one of the strongest Mishimas the series has ever seen. Number 3. Devil Jin. When it comes to raw power in the Tekken universe, there's one form that sits above almost every other fighter. Devil Jin is a huge upgrade from normal Jin. It's not only the glowing eyes and wings, although every emo kid loves that. He's the physical manifestation of the Devil Gene's power unleashed. The first time this power fully manifests is after the events of the King of Iron Fist Tournament 3. You know, when Grandpappy Heihachi attempts to no-scope his grandson. Of course, instead of dying, the Devil Gene activates and resurrects Jin. He transforms into his devil form, effortlessly defeats Heihachi and his forces, and just bounces. What makes Devil Jin so dangerous is the scale of his abilities. He can fly using those dope black wings, fire devastating laser beams, and channel immense demonic energy in combat. His fighting style combines the aggression of Mishima-style karate with Jin Kazuma's martial arts, creating a hybrid form of combat that's both technically skilled and overwhelmingly destructive, because, wings and lasers. Throughout the series, Devil Jin repeatedly proves that he can overwhelm even the strongest fighters. He hospitalizes Hwarang after emerging during the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5, destroys military forces sent to capture him, and survives encounters with some of the most powerful characters in the franchise. At one point in Tekken lore, Jin's power, while under the influence of the Devil Gene, is even described as rivaling that of a deity. The form embodies Jin's internal conflict between destruction and control. For years, he tries to suppress the gene, believing it to be nothing more than a curse. However, during the events of Tekken 8, he finally realizes something important. The Devil Gene's power reflects the desires of the person wielding it. For those of you who finished the campaign of Tekken 8, you'll know where this is going. Number 2. Kazuya Mishima. If Devil Jin represents the uncontrollable potential of the Devil Gene, then his dad, Kazuya Mishima, represents something arguably more dangerous: complete mastery over it. The beginning of Kazuya's story is one of the most infamous moments in Tekken lore. He was 5 years old, and Daddy Heihachi tossed him off a cliff. Something about how only a truly strong heir could survive such a fall. Which, look, we're talking about Heihachi. If Heihachi as a child fell off a mountain and landed on his head, it would be the floor that got hurt. Anyway, it sort of worked, because instead of dying, the experience awakened the Devil Gene within Kazuya. From then on, his life became centered on revenge, power, and domination. As an adult, Kazuya entered the first King of Iron Fist tournament with one goal: defeat his father. He succeeded, taking control of the Mishima Zaibatsu and throwing Daddy off the very same cliff, which probably hurt the cliff. But instead of correcting his father's cruelty, Kazuya became even more ruthless, turning the corporation into a brutal empire built on crime, warfare, and personal ambition. His power only grew more terrifying over time. After being defeated and thrown into a volcano by Heihachi in Tekken 2, because apparently that's just how the Mishima show affection, Kazuya was recovered and revived by G Corporation, a biotechnology company fascinated with the Devil Gene. Through years of experimentation and research, Kazuya did something that even Street Fighter's Akuma, who took care of his mom for some reason, might have said is going a little too far. He fully merged with the devil itself and gained total control over its power. From that point forward, Kazuya could transform into Devil Kazuya at will. This ability elevated him into one of the most dangerous fighters in the universe. In his devil form, he gains abilities far beyond human limits, obviously: flight, immense physical strength, and that super annoying, devastating Devil Blaster, a laser attack powerful enough to destroy large structures and wipe out entire military forces. Unlike Jin, who constantly struggles with the Devil Gene, Kazuya just embraces it completely. He sees power as the only truth in the world. To Kazuya, the strong deserve to rule, and the weak deserve to be crushed, and Dad deserves to be thrown into a volcano. And he has repeatedly proven he has the strength to enforce his beliefs. He ultimately defeats and allegedly kills Heihachi during the events of Tekken 7, ending one of the longest rivalries in fighting game history. Later, during Tekken 8, he goes even further by absorbing the power of Azazel, the ancient being connected to the origin of the Devil Gene, which transforms him into true Devil Kazuya, a form powerful enough to threaten the entire planet. At this point, Kazuya is more than just a supernatural fighter. He's a literal global threat, something people refer to as a god. A man with both the supernatural power of the Devil Gene and, for some reason, the military might of G Corporation behind him. I mean, I can't imagine the board meeting where anybody votes against him when he looks like that. The combination of unbelievable power and, for some reason, military supremacy is why he ranks at the very top of Tekken's power hierarchy. Except, of course, for Angel Jin. For most of the Tekken timeline, Jin Kazuma displays the ultimate contradiction. He carries the Devil Gene, one of the most destructive powers in the franchise, yet he spends most of his life trying to resist it. But in Tekken 8, he reaches a turning point that transforms him into something entirely different. Angel Jin. Angel Jin is born when Jin finally conquers the Devil Gene, rather than just suppresses it. After returning to Yakushima and reconnecting with the spiritual legacy of his mother Jun Kazuma, maybe even berating her for making him go live with Granddad, Jin learns to combine the demonic power within him with the purifying energy of the Kazuma bloodline. Instead of letting the devil live rent-free in his head, like his dad, he channels both forces together, creating a form that represents the internal balance he's reached. Rather than rejecting the devil outright, Jin just accepts it as a part of himself. The transformation makes Jin look like a celestial warrior. His body becomes covered in silver armor lined with glowing gold patterns, while radiant wings and luminous eyes emphasize the divine nature of the form. Again, really weird. However, the real difference is not appearance, it's power. Angel Jin is essentially the Devil Gene at max level, without the corruption that normally accompanies it. In this state, Jin can unleash massive beams of energy, generate barriers, for some reason teleport across the battlefield, and even materialize weapons made of pure light, because at this point I guess we're just playing Diablo. His fighting style blends his traditional Mishima and Kazuma martial arts with supernatural abilities that elevate him far beyond any normal human fighter, which he needs because he's fighting true Devil Daddy, and the scale of his power is demonstrated in one of Tekken's most absurdly epic battles. During the climax of Tekken 8, Angel Jin confronts true Devil Kazuya in a fight that literally leaves the planet. The two clash atop a burning meteor as it descends through Earth's atmosphere, trading blows powerful enough to shake the surrounding space itself. Even against Kazuya's fully evolved devil form, Angel Jin proves capable of matching him strike for strike. At one point, Jin unleashes a gigantic purifying field, restrains Kazuya with chains of holy energy, and delivers a devastating attack meant to destroy the devil power once and for all. The two forces collide with so much intensity that the energy ultimately erases both Azazel's influence and, allegedly, the Devil Gene itself. Unlike most characters on this list, Angel Jin's strength is not just destructive. His power exists specifically to counter and purify the Devil Gene, the same force that has driven the Mishima bloodline into endless conflicts for generations. By accepting the Devil Gene instead of denying it, Jin gains full access to its power without losing his identity. He's able to harness it intentionally. That level of control is what makes Angel Jin arguably the most powerful fighter in Tekken history, a warrior who finally mastered the power that nearly destroyed his entire family. He's not just a martial artist, nor is he just a devil. He's the perfect fusion of both. So that's our official verdict on the most powerful fighter in Tekken lore. In a universe full of martial arts masters, demonic bloodlines, ancient monsters, and corporate science experiments, power can mean a lot of things. But when you look at it closely, one fighter clearly rises above the rest. But, of course, in Tekken, nothing stays settled for very long. Because as one commenter pointed out in our Tekken Monsters video, my boy Paul Phoenix did own Ogre. So, that happened. But anyway, what do you think? Do you agree, or is there another fighter who you think deserves the top spot?
So now we've determined which Tekken character is the strongest out of all of them, and it is Angel Jin. I thoroughly enjoyed this video. The very first time that I've ever been introduced to Tekken is through the 2009 movie. You have to excuse me because I don't know the history behind these games, and the only characters that I've ever heard of is Jin and Heihachi Mishima. I absolutely love the movie, never played any of the games, and as I said, I don't know the history, but I'll make an effort to do so. It was very interesting to learn about the Devil Gene, Azazel, and the other characters as well. And seriously, the special moves, the powers, It was very interesting. And a word of wisdom for today. Get ready for the next battle. Have a blessed day further, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.